The big name, Ryan, that's been floated on Record Sport Online in the last 24 hours or so is Bodo Glimt striker Kasper Hoga. I mean, I know, or I think rather, Martin O'Neill, that he didn't commit on any particular names today, did he?
No.
But is that something that just you personally, your gut feeling, is that a deal that you think Celtic could get done before Monday's deadline?
It all comes down to whether they're willing to, I wouldn't even say push the boat out. They've not spent a penny in the January window. Looking at 2 loan signings that have come in so far. So it's whether they're willing to sanction a big money move for any player. You know, I said it even before the window opened that I felt that Celtic were going to be shopping in the loan market. And I think with Martin O'Neill, the uncertainty over who's going to become the next manager beyond the summer, I think you're looking at 95% chance that Martin O'Neill won't be staying on. I think he's admitted that himself. You know, he's 73 and you know, he's putting all his energy into between now and May. But you know, I think Celtic are going to have to look long term in the summer. So I think at the minute, Celtic's strategy is to bring in players, you know, stopgap signings basically, who will be able to do a job between now and the summer. And then the summer is going to be the big rebuild. So for that reason, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be, you know, let's say there's 3 signings coming in. I wouldn't be surprised if at least 2 of them are going to be loan signings. But going back to the question you asked, you know, Bodo Glimt, he's got a good pedigree. He scored obviously goals in the Champions League. He scored 2 against Man City as well, didn't he? So I think he's a signing that would excite the Celtic fans for sure. And as I say, he comes with he become a good CV and good pedigree, but it all comes down to money and whether Celtic are willing to sanction it or not. And we don't know the answer to that.
You know, you make a point there, obviously, about Celtic will more than likely have a new permanent manager in the summer. And people say, oh, well, what if they sign a big player now for big money in this window and the new manager comes in and says, I don't fancy him? I don't really get that logic, because if Celtic were to sign, say, Kasper Hoga for $7 million, he's still a quality player. He's still a quality striker. I mean, any manager that comes in, you know, you've just been given a new striker. I just don't get why Celtic at the moment have spent more money appealing Trusty's red card than they have on transfers. It's mad.
Yeah, I know when you put it like that, yeah. I think for a striker, if you're spending money on a striker and he delivers and he scores goals, then I think it's a safe bet for the next manager, because the next manager is going to want as many goal scorers as he can possibly can in the squad. Whereas maybe if you spend money on a central defender or a winger or a central midfielder, you know, it's slightly different. It might not be a cup of tea, might not be fit into the system he wants to play. But I think, you know, goal scoring strikers come at a premium, and it just comes down to whether Celtic are willing to spend the money. And as I say, I don't think you can even say it's pushing the boat out. I think it's just doing their job and getting a striker in a year after Kyogo's left. Yeah. You know, obviously Tomasz Chavanka is come in, and you know, he made a decent impact at the weekend. You know, he played a part in Yang's goal, but you know, he's had a difficult couple of seasons as well, and I think Martin O'Neill's even admitted that he doesn't see him as the immediate answer to all of Celtic's problems. So what Celtic need is somebody who is ready to come in, hit the ground running, and be the answer to the goal scoring problems. Because don't get me wrong, I mean, Celtic are going to create a bundle of opportunities every game. They just need somebody to stick it in the back of the net, which has been a big problem this season. I don't think the problem's been creating goals, it's just been scoring them. So if they can find that, you know, somebody with that killer touch, that killer instinct up front, then they're right back into this title race. But if they don't, it's simple, if they don't find a new goal scoring striker, then I think they're going to be on the plums this season.
And obviously the game tomorrow night against Utrecht, if Celtic win, they make it into the playoff rounds of the Europa League. On the Record Celtic podcast this week, Michael Gannon said if it was up to him, he'd play the reserves. He says he wants to Celtic should just put the Europa League in the bin. How do you see it?
Yeah, Mick and I kind of differ on that one. I think I can see the logic, because I think if Celtic do qualify, and it's 2 extra games at a minimum, I think the away game in the second leg of the knockouts would be 3 days before the trip to Ibrox. Yep. So clearly, that's a bit of an issue. But if you look back in, I know it was 20 odd years ago, but if you look back in the run that Martin O'Neill's team went on in 2003, I'm pretty sure they had was it Boa Vista? It might have been Boa Vista away, and Henrik Larsson scored that goal to put them into the final, and then they had Ibrox 3 days later, and they still got through. So the problem is, the difference is with this squad's running in fumes. I'm not convinced that they've got the strength and depth to be able to compete across all three fronts. Scottish Cup, the Premiership, and Europa League. So that's the issue. But if Celtic can get bodies through the door, which Martin O'Neill continually tells us that he's hopeful will happen, then yeah, I think Celtic they've got a duty to progress in Europe. Celtic have been mediocre in Europe for so many years now. And at the start of the season, before they crashed out of the Champions League, you had fans saying that, I wouldn't mind a crack at the Europa League after watching Rangers, but obviously the Europa League campaign this season hasn't quite gone to plan. But as I keep saying, if Celtic can get quality in the door, then Martin O'Neill, there's just something special with Martin O'Neill in European nights. He's got that aura, he's got that history, he's got that legacy. And if Celtic can get past Utrecht on Thursday, perhaps get a decent draw in the knockouts and get through there, then who knows what can happen. Rangers obviously reached the Europa League final in 2022, and I don't really think there's much for Celtic to fear in terms of the teams that are left in the competition. There's not really any massive kind of big guns that are left. So yeah, I think for me, I think that you've got to put out the strongest team. You've got to do your best to compete and get into that knockout stage. As I say, Celtic need to really improve their coefficient ranking as well. And I know obviously that might not be immediate priority to fans, but just in terms of the stature as well, and announcing themselves on the European stage, and rebuilding a reputation in Europe. I think it's an important thing for Celtic to do.
Ryan, it is an absolute pleasure having you on the Hotline Live as always. Thanks so much. I'm sure I'll be pestering you to get you back on soon.
That's all right, mate.
Cheers, Ryan. Look, a couple of comments, Keith and Celtic, if that's okay. In the comments, Green Machine says, if the board had ambition for Europe, then Celtic would not be in this mess. Sean says, no faith in the Celtic board at all. Their only hope is getting offered a couple of decent loan guys in the last few days. Chris is a bit more confident. He says, Raksaki and Mazwanisi to be in Lennoxtown by Sunday. Wales should go the other way. Mark points out which player is going to commit himself for any period, not knowing who the manager will be in May. And Andrew says...
I don't think that's a factor, Mark. Listen, if Celtic come calling, football players are perfectly used to change of management.
Aye.
You'd be going in with your eyes wide open. Yep, there's probably going to be a change of manager in the summer. But I agree with you in what you were saying about Kasper Holger. If I'm a manager, no matter what manager I am and what my style of play is, I want to take over a squad with as much quality in it as I can possibly inherit.
Exactly.
And I don't think there's many managers across Europe that would make an assessment that Kasper Holger wouldn't increase the level of quality in that Celtic squad right now. I just don't see that argument as being valid at all. Therefore, if I'm the Celtic board and I'm competing against Norwich, by the way, Norwich, I need to get this. I need to get that across the line. There's no excuse for not doing it.
Anne in the comments simply says, got to wonder what's going on at Celtic. And that's where I find myself. I just can't fathom 28th of January, 2 loan signings, and Norwich seemingly outbidding Celtic for a striker.
Well, the latest this afternoon is that Norwich are certainly in detailed discussions with Bodo Glimt. I think they've offered up a package in the region of €8 million. That's not beyond Celtic to match it and better it. And if you're a player, and I know that I know that England is where it's at in terms of the Premier League, and if you can get down there, but Celtic has always been a launch pad, a springboard, and a player of his quality with the chance to play European football, big stage, big stadium, win trophies, I think it's an easy sell. I really do.
The thing is, I get what you're saying about England, but this is Norwich in a championship relegation battle. I mean, come on.
Listen, I completely
I know you agree, obviously.
For me, it's an indicator of where other levels of ambition, and that's what I keep coming back to, Dan, that my fear has been there has been no level of ambition obvious to anyone. It's been quite the contrary.